for all of human history, one force has been the silent architect of our existence. It molds mountains, carves rivers, and anchors the very ground beneath our feet. It dictates the rhythm of the tides, the graceful dance of celestial bodies, and the simple, undeniable truth that what goes up must come down. This force, of course, is gravity. It is so fundamental, so omnipresent, that we rarely question its dominion. But what if, in a universe subtly yet profoundly different, this ubiquitous force barely whispered its presence? What if, on a planet much like our own, gravity was either incredibly weak or simply not there at all? Imagine a world where the very fabric of existence was unburdened by pull, where the ground offered no anchor and the sky held no ceiling. A world where every object, every being possessed an innate desire not to fall, but to drift. This is not a fanciful dream nor a scientific impossibility. It is a canvas for an alternate reality where the laws of the universe as we understand them have been rewritten. And in this realm, life, history, and human ingenuity would unfold in ways almost unimaginably alien, yet undeniably compelling. Our journey into this world begins at its very dawn with the first stirrings of life. In a realm of negligible gravity, the colossal pressure of a deep ocean, a driver of much early biological evolution, would be fundamentally absent. Primitive organisms would not sink to the ocean floor. Instead, they might form vast, sprawling mats or intricate, free-floating colonies, propelled by rudimentary flagella or gentle currents. The very concept of up and down in the primeval soup would be redefined, perhaps entirely relative to a light source or an electromagnetic field. As life diversified, the biological imperatives would shift dramatically. Where our world fostered robust skeletons and strong muscles to resist the constant downward pull, this alternate Earth would favor lightness, buoyancy, and efficient propulsion. Plants would not need deep root systems to anchor against gravity. Instead, they might develop extensive shallow networks to absorb nutrients, or even become entirely aerial, forming vast photosynthetic bladders drifting through the atmosphere, capturing diffuse sunlight. Their stems, unburdened by the need to support immense weight, could be incredibly delicate, or conversely, rigid to resist atmospheric currents. Spore dispersal would be a global affair, carried on every breath of wind, leading to widespread, diverse ecosystems. The ascent of intelligent life, including humanity's distant ancestors, would follow an equally divergent path. Bipedalism, a hallmark of our own evolution, born partly from the need to free hands while maintaining balance against gravity, would be an inefficient, perhaps even dangerous mode of locomotion. Instead, early humanoids might have evolved to be highly agile quadrupeds, adept at pushing off surfaces, or developing specialized grasping limbs, their bodies long and slender with minimal bone density and muscle mass compared to their terrestrial counterparts. Tools would not be about leveraging weight or impact. Instead, they would focus on propulsion, tethering, or precision manipulation in a weightless environment. Early projectiles would simply drift aimlessly without targeted propulsion, making hunting a complex dance of prediction and gentle nudging. Fire, a critical discovery, would behave differently. Flames would bloom in spheres, their heat dispersing without the familiar upward convection currents, requiring enclosed, carefully managed combustion chambers for controlled use. Even the formation of early civilizations would bear little resemblance to our own. Without the constant downward pressure, the monumental stone structures of ancient Egypt or Rome would be impossible, and indeed unnecessary. There would be no need for massive foundations or gravity-defying arches. Instead, early settlements might have clustered within natural caves, or more innovatively, developed as vast interconnected webs of tethered lightweight dwellings, perhaps spun from strong fibrous materials anchored to dense outcrops or deep magnetic fields. Wars, when they erupted, would not feature the crushing weight of cavalry or the devastating impact of trebuchets. Instead, battles might involve intricate aerial maneuvers, grappling, cutting tethers, or deploying vast drifting nets to entangle enemy combatants. The very concept of territory would be reimagined, focused not on contiguous land masses, but on accessible atmospheric currents, resource-rich asteroid fragments, or strategic tethering points. In this weak gravity world, technology and science would have been forced to pursue radically different avenues. The fundamental principles of physics would be centered not on gravity, but on inertia, momentum, and perhaps on the subtle, compensatory electromagnetic fields that might hold this world together. Mechanics would be about precision propulsion, directional thrust, and efficient deceleration. The very concept of construction would be revolutionized. Buildings would not be built upwards in the traditional sense, but outwards and inwards, or even downwards into the atmosphere, tethered to fixed points, or stabilized by powerful gyroscopes and magnetic anchors. Material science would prioritize extreme lightness, combined with immense tensile strength and rigidity. Self-assembling intelligent polymers, super-strong carbon composites, and adaptable magnetic alloys would be commonplace. Entire cities might be constructed as vast, interconnected modules, forming intricate floating networks, their surfaces shimmering with integrated solar collectors and atmospheric processing units. Imagine vast, translucent domes enclosing entire ecosystems, or multi-tiered platforms gently swaying in the planet's tenuous atmosphere, each level a self-contained habitat. Transportation would, of necessity, become almost exclusively aerial or spaceborne. The concept of ground transport would be an absurdity. Pushing off a surface would send an individual drifting away into the atmosphere. Personal propulsion units, from compact bio-powered thrusters to sophisticated grav-repulsors, if such a concept could even exist in this world, would be as common as shoes in our reality. Mass transit would involve enclosed aerovessels, vast buoyant airships, or sleek kinetic plasma drifters that navigate predefined atmospheric corridors, powered by harnessed wind currents or advanced fusion technologies. Space travel, paradoxically, could be both easier and more challenging. Escaping the planet's weak gravitational well would require minimal energy, allowing for frequent and relatively inexpensive launches. However, maintaining stable orbits around celestial bodies would be an entirely different problem. Without a strong gravitational anchor, spacecraft would constantly drift, necessitating continuous course corrections. Navigation would become an art of calculating intricate kinetic trajectories and predicting subtle stellar winds. Interplanetary voyages might rely on enormous solar sails pushed by photons or advanced kinetic catapults that launch vessels into precise, though vulnerable, escape trajectories. Absent would be the profound scientific discoveries derived from observing and understanding gravity's universal influence. No Kepler's laws of planetary motion as we know them, no Newtonian mechanics based on universal attraction. Instead, physicists would focus on the dynamics of inertia in a vacuum, the subtleties of magnetic fields, and the complex interplay of atmospheric forces. Daily life in such a world would be a constant testament to human adaptability and ingenuity. Homes would be designed as lightweight, modular units, often part of larger, interconnected structures. Every object within, from furniture to utensils, would be tethered, magnetized, or securely stowed to prevent it from drifting away. The sensation of simply sitting down, would be replaced by anchoring oneself. Clothing would be more than mere attire. It would often incorporate magnetic attachments for footwear, utility loops for tools, and even rudimentary personal propulsion units for quick maneuvers. Social customs would revolve around this weightless existence. The handshake might be replaced by a delicate grasp and a mutual adjustment of tethers, a silent acknowledgement of shared stability. Greetings could involve a gentle drift pass, a brief moment of shared momentum. Language itself would evolve, incorporating new verbs and adjectives to describe motion, tethering, and spatial relationships. Concepts of up and down would be relative to one's current frame of reference, or perhaps replaced by cardinal directions related to a dominant magnetic pole or the primary light source. Art and culture would blossom in unique ways. Sculptures would not be massive, grounded forms, but delicate, intricate compositions designed to drift and interact with atmospheric currents, catching light in ever-changing patterns. Architecture would be about creating vast, breathable volumes, with transparent surfaces offering breathtaking views of the ever-present stellar canvas. Music might be composed not just for auditory sensation, but also for its harmonic vibrations, which could subtly influence the movement of floating art installations, or even human performers in an elaborate aerial ballet. Sports would be thrilling spectacles of agility and precision, involving complex aerial maneuvers, competitive drift races through atmospheric obstacles, and zero-G grappling competitions where strength is less important than leverage and calculated propulsion. The concept of a street would be replaced by a sky lane or drift path. Values would shift to emphasize spatial awareness, resourcefulness, and a profound respect for communal stability. The constant threat of accidental drift or collision would foster a culture of meticulous planning and interconnectedness. Community cohesion would be literally embodied in shared tethering points and synchronized atmospheric navigation. Individualism would be tempered by the constant awareness of one's impact on the collective, where a careless push could send another person or even an entire module off course. The very definition of global power and geopolitics would be utterly transformed. There would be no fixed land borders, no territorial disputes over continental shelves. Instead, power would be wielded by those who controlled atmospheric currents, strategic tethering points, or access to vital resources. These resources might include rare, dense elements found in asteroid fragments caught in the planet's weak field, or advanced propulsion technologies, or even vast, energy-rich atmospheric zones. Global alliances would form around shared technological advancements, mutual defense against rogue debris or aggressive atmospheric entities, and collaborative efforts to manage the planet's tenuous atmosphere. Empires would not be defined by contiguous land masses, but by vast, interwoven networks of floating habitats linked by high-speed transit corridors and shared energy grids. Conflicts would be fought not with ground invasions, but with strategic disabling of tethers, disruption of atmospheric currents, or highly precise strikes on critical propulsion systems. The economic bedrock would be based on advanced materials engineering, sophisticated life support systems, and the extraction and processing of resources from the planet's periphery or even near space. Scarcity would center on dense, stable materials and the energy required for constant locomotion and environmental control. New systems of governance would arise, perhaps decentralized sky councils or federations of floating city-states, negotiating complex laws regarding drift patterns, collision avoidance, and shared atmospheric resource management. The concept of sovereignty would be a fluid, dynamic negotiation of spatial rights and responsibilities. In this extraordinary reality, even the most influential figures of history would emerge with radically different perspectives and achievements. Imagine an ancient philosopher, a new Thales or Aristotle, who, instead of contemplating the grounded nature of the universe, grapples with the inherent freedom and instability of a world unbound. Their cosmologies would eschew the familiar geocentric or heliocentric models for something far more fluid, perhaps theories of universal push and pull, or the intricate dance of unseen electromagnetic currents that governed all motion. A Newton figure in this world might not discover the laws of universal gravitation, but instead meticulously quantify the principles of inertia, momentum, and reaction, laying the groundwork for all future propulsion and stabilization technologies. This figure's groundbreaking work might lead to the development of the first efficient personal thruster, revolutionizing individual mobility and effectively democratizing the skies. Consider a Leonardo da Vinci of this alternate age, not a master of grounded mechanics, but a visionary architect and engineer who designs the first stable, multi-level floating habitats or intricate systems for harnessing the planet's persistent atmospheric energy. Their notebooks would be filled not with designs for flying machines that overcome gravity, but for structures that embrace drift, using advanced aerodynamics and self-correcting propulsion to maintain equilibrium. And what of a figure like Alexander the Great? Their conquests would not be over land, but across vast swaths of atmosphere. This leader might unite disparate floating communities not through conventional military might, but through strategic alliances cemented by superior propulsion technology, advanced resource allocation, and a mastery of atmospheric navigation, establishing a vast sky empire that spanned entire climate zones. Their legacy would be one of interconnectedness, of mastering the boundless void. This is a world built not on the familiar pull of mass, but on the delicate balance of push, momentum, and the sheer will to exist. It is a testament to the profound influence of a single fundamental force and how its absence reweaves the entire tapestry of existence. What began as a simple what if quickly evolves into a complex, self-consistent reality, both beautiful and terrifying in its implications. It forces us to consider our own place, grounded as we are, and to appreciate the invisible bonds that hold us to this earth. It reminds us that our science, our history, our very biology are not universal constants, but the intricate results of specific environmental parameters. In a world without the anchor of gravity, humanity would not simply cease to be, it would adapt, innovate, and thrive, building civilizations that literally touch the stars from their floating foundations. It leaves us with a lingering thought. How many other fundamental forces do we take for granted? Their unseen hands shaping every aspect of our lives, dictating realities we cannot even begin to imagine changing. This alternate Earth, with its weightless wonders and boundless skies, stands as a shimmering monument to the endless possibilities of a universe just slightly out of sync with our own. A world where the only way to move is to learn to fly.